Last year our onion crop was quite disappointing, but this year it's been the complete opposite. I'm really pleased with it. Not to say it's gone without some problems. We've had one or two of them bolt like that, but nevertheless not too many. We had lots of them do that last year, but we've had some really decent sized onions here, and what we're going to do is pick them all today to make sure that we get them out of the ground, because it's a bit wet at the moment, and if we leave them in any longer they could rot, or they could end up being a meal for the slugs. When you've picked all your onions and got them back to the house, what you need to do is get them ready for storage. Now you can't just stick them in a bag or in a box and put them in a cupboard and hope for the best. And particularly if you end up putting them in a carrier bag, then you can guarantee they all would have rotted down within just a few weeks, and all your efforts would have been wasted. You've got to prepare your onions for storage. So here's one of my onions, and the first thing we need to do is to remove the roots there, these feathery roots just above the base where they join with the bulb. And the reason why we do that is because those roots tend to accumulate a little bit of soil, and that can store up problems by attracting insects, or may even have the occasional slug or worm in it, and that's the last thing you want on your onions. We keep the stem there if it's still on the onion when it's picked, because the reason why we do that is because we're going to use this one as part of a chain to try to chain them all up as a string of onions. If it doesn't have a stem like that, then what we're going to do is store them in onion bags. Well, this is the spare room in our house, and we're using it as a place to dry out some of the crops from the allotment before putting them into storage. And we've actually got here already the shallots, which have been drying for a couple of days, and they're now just about ready to go into storage, and we'll be putting them into bags like this, doing a very similar process to what we're about to do with the onions as well. So before they go into the bags, we will be checking them just to make sure that there's no excess soil on, so we'll rub that off, and we'll also check for any that are rotten, so they're thrown away. They don't go into the bags because they'll end up making all the other part of the crop rot as well. These are some of our onions now laid out on newspaper or in boxes or trays on the bed, and what we'll do is we'll return to these in a couple of days' time to see whether the skins have dried out and any bits of soil on them have dried out as well, and also to check that the stems have dried as well. The onions have been standing and drying for a few days now, and this is one of the bundles that we've made up. Now you can put them into bundles like this, where these are just 3 onions with sufficient stalk that are plaited together, and then a number of plaits are all tied up together, and that can be hung up in our storeroom where it's nice and dry and cool and air can circulate around it. Or they can go into an onion sack like this one here, which is on the floor. Now you can get these from garden centres and seed suppliers and so on, and as you can see it's a nylon net, but it allows the air to circulate, so it doesn't let the produce get damp inside and go off. Now these are much easier to deal with, but I've got to say it's much more fun seeing that hanging up in my storeroom.